Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. According to The Hill, Trump can delay paying full damages until after appeal. So you have $83 million that needs to be collected from former President Donald Trump. He's refusing to pay until after the appeal. The appeal will be interesting because, according to CNBC, this is very interesting. Alina Habba, who is a fantastic lawyer for Trump, we believe, and we will argue on appeal, the court was overtly hostile towards defense counsel and President Trump and displayed preferential treatment towards plaintiff's counsel, Habba wrote. Now, there was an allegation that the plaintiff's attorney had a possible mentor relationship with the judge, which has been refuted, according to Reuters. So that, according to Reuters, didn't happen. Although, let's see, according to CNBC, sorry. So according to Reuters, there's the possibility, that there was a conflict of interest between the judge and the plaintiff's attorney, which would then help overturn the $83 million decision against Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel right now to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, other publications. Go to ajgoodman.com. Patreon is below in the pinned comment, and the super thanks is below as well. However, the attorney for the plaintiff denied any relationship of any work, mentor or mentee relationship. So the letter said that Habba learned for the first time this weekend from a New York Post article allegations that the judge had a mentor-type relationship. But we believe on appeal, the hostility towards Trump would be evident, but it was refuted really quickly. So this is important. Since Miss Kaplan has now denied there was ever a mentor-mentee relationship. Okay, so that story has been categorically denied by the plaintiff's attorney. Ms. Kaplan has now denied that there was ever a mentor-mentee relationship between herself and Your Honor. This issue has seemingly been resolved, Habba wrote the judge. But in a footnote to the sentence, Habba added, quote, there are, however, various other issues relating to the court's conduct, including potential bias, hostility towards the defense counsel, which will be raised in post-trial motions on appeal. This was a very interesting case for a number of reasons. The case revolved around a criminal allegation. The criminal allegation was never decided or ruled on in a court of law within a criminal trial. The defamation case stems from Trump saying he didn't commit a crime. Of course, that is grounds for defamation against Trump, apparently in New York, where he eventually lost a couple of defamation cases or trials to the same person. Now, you compare that with I believe it was Sullivan versus the New York Times. Rachel Maddow or MSNBC or the New York Times or the Washington Post, BuzzFeed. These publications can actually, was it Sullivan versus, these publications can make any allegation against Trump. New York Times v. Sullivan, sorry. Landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision ruling that freedom of speech protections of the First Amendment to the Constitution restrict the ability of public officials to sue for defamation. So, in Trump's case, any publication can make any allegation about Trump and the Kremlin, and there has to be malice proved. How do you prove malice? Okay, because that's very difficult to prove. So you can actually get away with, if you're the New York Times or if you are BuzzFeed or if you are any publication or any cable station, Trump cannot sue because the cable station or the publication that is accusing Trump of being a Kremlin operative, which absolutely categorically never happened, can say, hey, you know what, New York Times v. Sullivan, you have to prove malice and intent to really harm the individual. Trump has to prove that a newspaper intentionally tried to harm his campaign. That actually, when you look at the state of affairs, shouldn't be difficult to prove. But apparently it is difficult to prove because they can always say, well, it's just journalism. And we were going after Trump's taxes. Of course, the rebuttal is you never do any investigative journalism about Hunter or Joe or any Democrats. And so then their rebuttal is, well, the New York Post has that taken care of. Okay, so it's this back and forth where you have to just basically prove malice. This is a very interesting case. It's going to go to appeal, and this, like the fraud case regarding the Trump real estate and his businesses in New York, you're going to have to prove that Trump's that the billions loaned to Trump were loaned because Deutsche Bank was deceived, which of course that wasn't the case. You even have one of the people in Shark Tank, what is his name? Kevin O'Leary, who stated that Trump does the same thing that every other billionaire does in New York. So you'd have to then go after every other billionaire that invests in real estate throughout New York. Trump did nothing wrong in terms, he did not commit fraud. He got billion-dollar loans or hundreds of millions of dollars in loans because the lenders made money off Trump. With this issue, the defamation, it's a very bizarre legal case. Trump was guilty of defamation, even though the criminal case was never tried in a criminal court. So I'm going to leave that to the attorneys, in the comments section to explain. But now you have to get $83 million from Trump, and you have to make sure that there are no conflicts of interest. We see the Fulton County indictment completely being dismantled by conflicts of interest. So when you go after Trump for political purposes, let's say, in various parts of the country, you have to make sure that there are no conflicts of interest. Then you have to make sure that you'll eventually be able to collect on the $83 million payment. If Alina Habba is correct and there are other conflicts of interest, perhaps not the mentor relationship that perhaps never took place according to the plaintiff's attorney, there might be other issues that could warrant a new trial, in which case he definitely wouldn't have to pay the $83 million initially. There would be a new trial. This is not hurting Trump politically. Okay, it's hurting his pocketbook potentially, but he's a billionaire, so I don't think he really cares. He also could get a bond, get a loan, a whole bunch of things. So he can structure it to where he doesn't just, where if he does pay the $83 million, he does so with, it's not a financial hit on his pocketbook. The point, ladies and gentlemen, is that when you are in New York, and or if there are Democratic politicians or prosecutors linked to the Democratic Party in some way, if there's conflicts of interest, if people are dating one another, for example, that's one of the allegations in Fulton County, that could lead to a mistrial or a completely new trial. If there are other allegations that turn out to be true, that could potentially lead to a new trial or on appeal, Trump not paying that amount of money. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Trump's poll numbers continue to go up. And the reason is that the average American, the average American views this to be an attempt at tarnishing Trump's campaign by Democrats in blue states. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now.